Yeah, my name's Francesco Magari, and we're just going to have a look at how we would check, maintain and clean some of the equipment that you might use during forest school. So we've got bore saw, sheath knife, and I've been unable to get hold of bill hook, but I'm hoping that using just a large bladed knife will suffice. Same with loppers, but I've a hatchet that, again, hopefully just going through cleaning, checking, maintenance of this piece of equipment will suffice. So to start with, the bore saw. So at the moment I have the blade turned around. So to change this, we've got the handle on this side, pull it down, open the clip and remove the pin from the end. Okay, so if need be, this is how you would remove the blade to put a new one in. Yeah, put the pin back in the end and secure it on this side, and then close the handle, making sure that the blade is nice and tight. Okay, because on this particular type of bore saw and this blade, you've got two holes here and here. Okay, so if you have it too short, the blade can then easily bend. That then, when you're using it, there's a greater chance of the blade actually breaking. So making sure it's nice and tight, that way the blade isn't going to bend or move about as much during use. So you've got the teeth of the blade here, okay, and it's important that any equipment that you are going to be using, whether it's for yourself or with students, that you look after them properly. I mean, first of all, just so then they work in the way that they should, but then also just for your own safety. So we can look at the teeth here on the bore saw. Now, teeth and blades with serrated edges are difficult to sharpen on your own, but it is, you know, if you need to, then with this particular type of knife sharpener, you get this rounded edge here that you can use in between serrated edges or teeth on knives and blades. Now, if you don't have one of those, then again, with this type of blade, you could take it to a saw doctor to have them sharpen it. However, here in Poland, with how cheap these are, you're probably just better buying a new one and just replacing the blade. But to limit the amount of times that you're going to need to do that, after every use, make sure that you are cleaning the blade. Okay, so you can get a rag, okay, and just wipe everything off the blade, make sure that it is dry and clean before you put it back away. If you start to see any rust, I mean, on this one, it is well used, but then at the same time it's being looked after. If you do see any rust, then you can get wire wool, and it's, you know, you just go along the blade to take off the rust. At the same time, once you've done that, using something like WD-40 to spray the blade, that's going to then protect the blade from being weathered or any kind of corrosion. Okay, so that's the bore saw, and the others are very similar as well. So sheath knife. So you look at the blade, look for any kind of nicks in the blade, and with a knife and things like this, the sharper they are, generally the safer they are as well, because when students are using them. So if it's a nice sharp blade, then if they're using it correctly, it is going to carve and shape wood a lot easier than a dull blade, because then they have to start pushing more. So making sure that the blade is nice and sharp, so you can actually look down it. So I can see on this blade there are some little nicks in the end here, some imperfections. So what you could do with this is, if you've got a sharpening stone, then you just pushing the blade along the sharpening stone away from you. If it's a dry stone, if it's a wet stone, then obviously you've got to put water or oil on to then just get that nice and sharp. Or again, alternatively, you've this kind of knife sharpener where you just pull the blade through through the ceramic, and then through the other one. Again, it just takes off any of those nicks or any kind of imperfections to make the blade sharp again. Same with the bow saw. When it's being used, make sure that the blade is wiped, so it's not being put back into the sheath dirty or wet. Again, this is stainless steel blades, so these do stay sharper longer than carbon blades. But again, rust, wire wool, you can scrape any kind of rust off with that. WD-40, that's going to help to protect the blade. Okay, so this large blade, again, that is going to be representing the bill hook. Again, unfortunately, I've not been able to get hold of one. But this is very, very similar in that you can use a sharpening stone to keep this blade nice and sharp. Excuse me. To keep the blade nice and sharp, again, after every use, this has got to be wiped clean. You don't want it going back into its sheath dirty, wet, anything like that. Sharpening stone, or again, a knife sharpener similar to this one would also work. I think that's it for the bill hook. Hatchet. Okay, again, you can look down the edge, the head of the hatchet, just to again look for any kind of imperfections. Now, typically, standard little knife sharpener for just very little improvements to the blade, the head of the hatchet will suffice. However, with something like this, you are much better with a sharpening stone, because if people that don't really know how to use hatchets can often miss pieces of wood. If that then hits the ground, then you end up, stones, any bits of metal, anything like that can really damage the head of the hatchet. So making sure that you take out any imperfections is important in keeping it working the way that it should do. But again, once it's been used, okay, we'll make sure that it's nice and clean and dry. If need be, you can take your white wool. That's going to take any dirt off, any rust off the head of the hatchet. You can again use WD-40 or any other kind of oil just to put an extra protective coating on that, and then it is kept inside for this it's a leather sheath to help protect it when it's in the toolbox, when you're traveling, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I hope that those tools are sufficient for the submission.